All right, let's move on to Sunday, October 22nd, 1 p.m. Eastern. We have the Las Vegas Raiders 3-3, 1-2 on the road. The Chicago Bears 1-5, 0-3 at home. Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. 51 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 10 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have, pull this up right here. And we have the Bears right now at +3 at -107. This opened up at -106. So we really had no movement here on the side since Pinnacle dropped this spot. Then from a total perspective, we are sitting at a 37.5. And there's been no movement there. Opened up at -108 to the under. It's still right there. So very little movement. Let's get over to the cash flow on this spot here. And we have 82% of the tickets and 97% of the cash on the under. And from a spread perspective, 18% of the tickets and 43% of the cash on the Chicago Bears. The Raiders come in off their second straight win, 21-17 at home over the Patriots, and Jimmy G suffered a back injury in the second quarter. He was sent to the hospital. Josh McDaniels said that Garoppolo dodged a big bullet. His status is unclear, but we don't expect him to be available on Sunday. So up until that injury, Garoppolo was 14-22 for 162 yards and a touchdown to Jacoby Myers and a pick. In relief, Brian Hoyer came in. He was 6 of 10 for 102 yards. Despite Hoyer coming in to replace Jimmy G, as Aiden O'Connell was not dressed for this one, I shouldn't say we all. There's an expectation that if someone was going to start other than Garoppolo, that it would be Aiden O'Connell over Hoyer. We don't know if that's going to come to fruition, but that's the expectation, is that Aiden O'Connell will be the starting quarterback. Michael Meyer caught 5 passes for 75 yards. Jacoby Myers caught 5 for 51 and a touchdown. Josh Jacobs ran 25 for 77 yards and caught 2 passes for 16 yards. He's been a very mediocre after signing the one-year contract. He needs to show off and show out to be able to get paid. The Raiders continue to struggle in the red zone. They're 1 for 6 versus the Patriots. Patriots are quite good in the red zone, both offensively and defensively. But the Raiders are ranked 25th in converting red zone opportunities, 40.91%. The defense looks strong versus the Patriots' weak offense. They finished with 4 sacks and 5 quarterback hits. They closed the game out with that Max Crosby, Bilal Nichols safety. Trayvon Morgan had an interception, but they allowed the Patriots to go 2 for 2 in the red zone. Excuse me. Their red zone defense currently ranked 29th in the league. Let me just have a sip of water here. Sorry.
Gets me choked up just thinking about it too.
The red zone. Actually, why don't you take over for a sec, Mike?
Yeah. So I think if I could paraphrase for Jimmy, they stink in the red zone, and collectively the Bears not much better. Although the Bears did have a flash of brilliance, right? So if you kind of look at the trials and tribulations or the turmoil of Justin Fields' season here, beat down at Tampa Bay, smacked in the mouth at Kansas City. And that was kind of a spot for me where I was pretty vocal about his lack of character, where he was blaming his coaches for being overcoached. He's even got Mahomes saying, stick to your ground and, make your thing. Well, what he did after that, though, is he came back and he played a competitive game with some offense by facing Denver Broncos, but it was the Denver Broncos. Comes back against the Commanders and had a sound victory, a 40-20 victory. The Bears were my pick last week. I was looking at the Bears against the Vikings. I'm not a Vikings fan, and we'll talk more about that shortly. But then Fields got hurt, and now he's got this thumb issue that's kind of creeping out there and lingering. So, from a thumb perspective, kind of a big deal. And I think what they're deciding on right now is it going to be a surgery factor or not? And that's going to obviously determine the length of the potential injury that he has out there. That being said, though, Bears are decimated by injuries across the board right now. They got Khalil Herbert's out of the game. Their offensive line's got issues galore. Their defense has got issues. Their Cole Kmet, their tight end, their offensive line. I don't know what's going to happen with the Chicago Bears team. What they're going to have to do is if Fields goes down, they're going to have to sign somebody in this free agency or maybe with this trade deadline pending, make a move for somebody's backup, because it ain't cutting it right now. And, they had 2 flashes of brilliance with Justin Fields. He led the league in offensive performance, production and yards in the field, touchdown catches, rushing yards from the entire NFL, not just at the quarterback position as well. But, certainly a lot of uncertainty there on that Bears side of the ball. And, and then you look at the Raiders side of things and this Garoppolo factor, who's going to lead the charge for him? And you kind of nailed that when you talked a little bit about the Hoyer O'Connell type of situation.
Yeah, and I do expect it to be O'Connell, and I agree with Sky Dragon saying, the difference between Jimmy G and O'Connell is minimal. When we go back to where I was going, the red zone defense right now for the Raiders is 29th in the league. They're allowing touchdowns on 70% of drives in the red zone. Daniel Carlson continues to kick very well, 4-4. You can expect field goals in this one. Safety Roderick Teamer injured his hamstring. At this point, we don't know the extent of it. The Raiders have allowed 17 or fewer points in 3 of their games. They've only allowed over 24 once. And the Raiders have failed to cover the spread in their last 9 games as road favorites. This goes back a while. Mm-hmm. The Bears come in off a 19-13 loss at home to the Vikings, as you talked about. The game overshadowed by Justin Fields' thumb injury. They've now lost 10 straight home games. The dislocated thumb, he has the issue with grip strength. I do not expect them to be under center. So Tyson Bagent, out of Division II Shepherd University, he was 10 of 14 for 83 yards and his first NFL touchdown. It was a quarterback sneak. He was strip sacked on the 3rd play from scrimmage. That hurt. And he also threw a pick where he underthrew DJ Moore. But this guy is loved by the group in the room. He looked very good in preseason. He went from number 4 on the depth chart to becoming the backup. He instilled so much confidence in the Bears' brain trust that they cut PJ Walker despite giving him $2 million guaranteed. That's a big deal. And you talked about the 3 running backs on the depth chart injured. Donta Foreman came in and looked pretty good, ran 15 times for 65 yards. The defense had a strong game. They held the Vikes to just 12 first downs and 2 of 13 on 3rd down. But they lose their right guard, Nate Davis, to a high ankle sprain. He's week to week. Eddie Jackson, this secondary so beaten up. Eddie Jackson aggravated his injured foot in the first quarter. But this is important. Eddie Jackson, Eberflus said that he could have played an emergency situation. So Eberflus thinks that he's going to line up this week, and they need him badly in the secondary. Rookie corner Terrell Smith missed the last game due to an illness, and it turns out it's mono. So he's going to be out 3 to 4 weeks. So this group just keeps getting devastated. I agree with the idea that how do you really scorecast? How do you really game script if you don't know who is going to be at quarterback? But if I had to bet on it, I would bet it'd be Aiden O'Connell going up against Bagent and cap it accordingly. And nothing appeals to me. And I think that both quarterbacks can move the ball okay against these defenses. I mean, I think the Raiders defense is a little stronger, than the Bears defense, but nothing is appealing to me in this game at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that's I kind of echo your sentiment there. Couple things that jumped out to me though, particularly was the again, and we talked about this on the hop of the show, the unders in the NFL. And last week I kind of looked at the card and I was like, boy, it feels like there's going to be a lot of unders, and that kind of messed with my head a little bit. As I looked at this card again, I thought the same thing. Boy, there's going to be a lot of unders. The Vegas Raiders are 1-5 to the under this season. Their only over was the explosion of the Bills offense that took place that game where, that other than that, it should have been an under spot. But kind of where I'm leaning on this game, and I'll talk to you a little bit more in detail about it here, is the Jacobs run game. Like, what's the one consistent that they have, or the constant on a team with all this flux right now? It's the fact that Josh Jacobs is leading the NFL in total opportunities from the running back position. Last week he had 30 total targets or opportunities. That's combining both his pass receiving attempts as well as his rushing attempts, and he's leading the NFL on average with 24 targets. So that kind of correlates back to that under for me when it comes to this number. We're seeing the 2 games that Justin Fields had that explosion of offense, went over a 44.5 comfortably and over the 47 by a couple of points as well. But with this flux in the quarterback situation on that Bears side, it just leads me back to who's going to put the ball in the end zone for those guys. If I think about this game script, it's give the ball to Josh Jacobs. I love Josh Jacobs' rushing attempts prop. I'm not so sure if I'll get there on his yards. I probably will. I don't have some of these props available to me yet, as they're still kind of working through finalizing lineups, but I would lean to that Jacobs, rushing attempt prop. And another factor that jumped off the page at me, and ultimately where I'm going to jump in on this game, you talked a lot about these quarterbacks and kind of who they are and where they came from. And, Tyson, I guess if we're looking at this thing here, and I was going to kind of break down these quarterbacks, Tyson Bagent is the guy. I think I said that last name right. But who's behind him? It's Nathan Pick Six Peterman rather. So that's not the guy you want to have, when it comes to your backup. They're going to be all on this guy, or this team's going to crumble like like a house of cards in the wind. On the other side of things, with Brian Hoyer, with the experience in the McDaniel system, I think he's his guy. And you're talking Aiden O'Connell. I could see him making the leapfrog situation, but if it doesn't go Aiden O'Connell's way, it makes a lot of sense to start him when you kind of have that Tyson versus Aiden battle. You get the guy the comfort and confidence to go out there and see what he can do. If he can't and he gets the hook in the second half, it's a Brian Hoyer spot. So, for me, that jumps off the page pretty substantially when it comes to the depth and the I don't want to say quality, but the consistent and the ability with game experience is probably the word I'm looking for when it comes to the backups. The other thing here, we talked about San Francisco, and we'll talk more about that situation and what happens after teams play San Francisco. Guess who's another one that jumps off the page? The New England Patriots. After teams play the Patriots when they're a favorite, they're 13-2 straight up. They're only 7-6-2 against the spread, but they're averaging 150 rushing yards. So that kind of goes back to my thoughts when we look at this Josh Jacobs situation and saying, we're going to pound this ball. They're going to try to get that performance moving down the field. The guy's been consistent. He's showing that they have no qualm about going back to him after the injury took place a couple weeks ago, and they dished the ball off a ton when O'Connell came in. They saw what they had in Jacobs, and I think they go back to that here as well. I am going to take the Vegas Raiders here. I'm going to take them. I got a -3, and it's -110 for me at that -3. Are they a 6-point better team? And why do I say 6? Because we factor in the 3 for home field, right? Are they you give the Bears 3, and now you're giving the Raiders a -3. So you're looking at really the Raiders being a 6-point better team. Without Justin Fields, without Herbert, without Cole Kmet, I just don't know who's going to get the ball. And you got DJ Moore that they're underthrowing. Yeah, he got 40 yards total in that game, went after Justin Fields came out of the game. But I just don't see any game plan that's going to show the Bears are going to be able to stick in this game. So I like that money line a ton. That might make some parlays for me as we get closer to Sunday. But I'm going to lock down the -3, -110 for the Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, I think that it does make sense. And, with the injuries to the running game, I mean, D'Onta Foreman wasn't that big of a drop from the, whether it be, maybe a little bit of a drop from Khalil Herbert, but Rashawn Johnson, not that big of a drop. But yeah, I don't want Hoyer. If I'm on the Raiders, I want O'Connell out there. I think that there's a higher upside. I'm interested. Spenny says Rashawn should be back from his concussion. And I tried to get that information right now, but could not get it. Today. So at this point, there's no move for me, but I guess I do have interest in the Raiders.
I just can't go with this. The Bears are anemic at best with Justin Fields in there. You still kind of have that coin flip of what they're going to do with this game. And, it's not an exciting game for me, but the Bears have burned me several times. And now you're going to take out, arguably their best pieces in the game. I just don't see where they get the job done. And, the questions and the concern about Justin Fields, are we going to see Aiden O'Connell, not Aiden O'Connell, this Tyson guy step in and be the second coming? I just don't think so. And 3 points, the field goal spot, do I think this game comes within that number? No. The other thing that I kind of correlate with this here is I look at the team totals. I see the Raiders team totals 20.5, and I see the Bears team totals 16.5. Simple math, it's a 4-point differential on a 3-point game. If it comes down to a field goal and I push it, then I push it. But I just think the Raiders are going to have that more confidence and comfort with their running game to be able to generate the offense they need to get this win. I don't think it's going to be a barn burner by any stretch. The total is just disgusting with how it's dropped, right? I mean, it's down 9 points from the original look-ahead numbers. And it kind of goes back to what we're seeing out of these two offenses. But I like that Raider spot at -3. I'm going to take that Raider spot -3. I'm not going to say I like it. I'm going to take it at -3. That's probably the
I like it. I like it. Well, let's roll on